Imagine this: you are running late, or you are going through a breakup, or you realize that your dreams are slipping away like sand through your fingers as time passes by. Basically, you're having a really bad day, and in the middle of all this hustle bustle, you're trying to just catch a breath. But then, this plays on shuffle, and you start to wonder. Like everyone else, I too had a dream. A dream to watch Interstellar in the way it is meant to be seen. And for all these years, that dream lived under the realm of one day. One day I'll get to watch Interstellar in IMAX 70mm. But that one day never came until I decided to turn it into day one. And what more wonderful time than to watch it in its 10-year anniversary. It's like giving a surprise to one of your friends that you have not seen in a long time. So without a second thought, I booked myself tickets to Melbourne, the Melbourne IMAX, because that's the nearest IMAX to Mumbai. At least that's what Google Maps shows. This isn't any vlog or movie review or video essay. This one's quite personal. This one features my decade-long obsession with this film. How we grew closer, how we drifted apart, and how we came back. This is For the Love of Interstellar. Yeah, soaked in all of Mumbai's humidity. Also, the rush in the trains these days, anyway. Whoa. So, yeah. So, as the lights go down and you are greeted with these studio logos accompanied by the sound of dusty winds, you feel a sense of mystery. That slow push in on the bookshelf, for a first time viewer, it might just be another scene, but for a repeat viewer, it holds quite a lot of weight. That kind of shot that makes you take a deep breath. Also, a fun thing I noticed while reading the screenplay, that the bookshelf, actually the room of Murphy, used to belong to her mother. Back in high school, in the middle of entrance exam preparation, I was writing a lot of mails. Quite a lot actually. To cinema exhibitors like PVR, Vakao and 1018MB. Different names, one dream. To watch Interstellar on the big screen. I had missed its original theatrical release back in 2014. Actually, I was not knowing anything about Interstellar or IMAX. If I knew, I wouldn't have missed the chance to watch it at Prasad's in IMAX 70mm in Hyderabad. Ironically, I was in Hyderabad on a school trip back then. But yeah, what a great miss. The thing is, I've always been fascinated by space. Like every other kid, I wanted to become an astronaut. While that phase did not last long, my fascination never left me. I was the kind of a kid who used to type out full encyclopedia pages on Word documents on my XP machine. My first ever Google search was the word alien, and places like Nehru Planetarium and Science Center became amusement parks to me. Well, they still kinda are. Let me show you. So that's Nehru Planetarium. Here I am actually inside the planetarium. Oh god, look at this, man. This is so cool. This is the place where I actually grew up falling in love with space and the sense of wonder. We are seeing the Galilean moons in the background actually. It's kind of funny. I came here I think at the age of 9 and this place still excites me the way it used to. So yeah, back then there used to be RGB projectors. So that by RGB I mean I do remember. Hey, wait, I actually drew Nehru Planetarium on MS Paint. Damn. I actually drew Nehru Planetarium on MS Paint. Okay, new location. Not exactly. I always used to love these two coconut trees. It really looked aesthetic to me. Anyway, and yet I never really looked forward to watching Interstellar when it came out. Maybe because it was not in 3D, or maybe because its trailer was a bit too technical. I don't know, whatever the reason was, I missed it. But in April, exactly 10 years ago, I downloaded a fresh Blu ray print of Interstellar. Mind you, I was just 15 at this point.
The kid's 15.
And the moment I started watching it, I knew I was not just watching another space movie. I could not help but pause and switch tabs, googling everything from wormholes, black holes to time dilation. By the end of it, I was so overwhelmed that I ended up writing a Facebook review. Yeah, the old Facebook days. Later that night, I stumbled onto this YouTube video that claimed to be an extended version of Interstellar's theme music. It was just the first step track on loop, but I was moved beyond words. I must have fallen asleep listening to it. Sure, I was already listening to scores from Harry Potter and Life of Pi, but this one got me obsessed with film scores. 2 years later, I rewatched the film on my phone, not in the comfort of my room, but on an overnight train, traveling between states trying to kill time. And this time it hit harder. My first watch was a mere intellectual stimulation, but this rewatch devastated me emotionally. I tried my best to weep silently, not to disturb the rest of the coach. And this time I was moved that I didn't stop watching the movie directed by Christopher Nolan. Instead, I let those credits roll just as I was letting the tears roll down my cheeks. That's when I fully appreciated the track End Credits. It was not even part of the official album. I had to go on a nerdy internet hunt digging through forums until I found the FYC version. For your consideration, meant for award juries. That's where I found some hidden gems like Decoding the Message and Organ Variation. But I could not stop yapping about how criminally underrated End Credits is. But let me talk about the first time we hear this beautiful composition in its full glory, Cornfield Chase. For the longest time, I did not know what this scene truly meant, yet I kept returning to that scene. Zimmer is to be blamed, yes. He doesn't just shove the score down our eardrums, but taps right into our soul. Over time, I learned how effectively it's doing the world building as well.
This thing needs to learn how to adapt, Murph. Like the rest of us.
Yet it was Cooper's raw enthusiasm that made me fall for it in the first place. Here's a man destroying his own crops to run after a piece of tech that the world has forgotten about. There's so much character in that one chase. There's so much soul. Coming back to the emails that I was writing back then, while they were going nowhere, there was something silently brewing in the background. A group called 1018MB announced a special screening of Interstellar in January of 2018. And that's when it happened, my first theatrical viewing of Interstellar. Not at the IMAX screen of the venue, but in one of their local theaters. I was so excited for this one that I even made a time-lapse video of my journey from home to the theater. Inspired by the behind-the-scenes video titled For the Love of Film, I called mine For the Love of Interstellar. Interstellar on the big screen? Check. Now within a month, I get to watch Interstellar again, this time in IMAX. I took my father with me and he didn't quite understand the film, but he ended up loving it. And I'm glad that I got to share that experience with him. Of course, it's kind of surreal to take your father and get to watch Interstellar with him. And though it was not 70mm, even the 2K Xenon projection was enough to blow me away. Interstellar on digital IMAX? Check. That just made me crave IMAX 70mm even more, a format I had not even experienced yet, but one that carried a sort of like a mythical weight. So I want to talk about this one thing. There's another sequence in the film that holds a special place in my heart. While Cornfield Chase represents the soul of the film, this sequence embodies its tragedy, the devastating moment when Cooper and the crew lose 23 years in the blink of an eye. A tragedy isn't always about grand disaster or death, but sometimes it can be as simple as loss of time. Like other Nolan films where villain appears pretty late in the story, Interstellar is no exception. But here, time itself becomes the villain, transcending the typical race against the time scenario. Because over here, you're not just racing against time, but you are also feeling the loss of time with the rest of the characters, and it's heartbreaking. When Cooper watches his children grow up through those recorded messages, it creates one of cinema's most powerful moments. Whatever flaws the rest of the film might have, but this scene stands as the definition of flawless storytelling. And all this, it's backed by actual science. Kip Thorne, the scientific brilliance behind the screen, had two rules. One, the film couldn't break any known laws of physics, and second, any speculation had to spring out from legitimate theoretical science. While many of Nolan's wildest ideas did not make it to the final draft, the idea of 1 hour equals 7 years dead, thankfully. Though Nolan has taken some creative liberty to a certain acceptable extent. One liberty he took was during the wormhole scene. According to science, traveling across wormhole is no different than passing through an anywhere door. But the wormhole sequence in the movie is as exciting as it can get.
The controls won't work here. We're passing through the bulk.
Okay, so while editing this video, I began to notice some other things, like how Nolan often edits major chunk of the film on the screenplay itself. That seamless yet simple cut from the blue sky to the blackness of space near Saturn. In a flash of a second, you realize 2 years have gone past. And then cut back to Earth right after 25 years of gap. It's baked right into the script. And it hurts. It may sound cliche, but it makes me wonder how tiny we are in the grand scheme of this achingly beautiful universe. Amelia's nature not being evil does resonate. Yet most of us cannot move past ego clashes and heartbreaks. Recently, I also started noticing Lee Smith's edit wizardry, especially his inserts. There's this quick cut to Amelia when Cooper talks about how there's little chance of saving others. And then there is this gorgeous cut from drifting through the farm to gliding over man's planet. Alright, what a wonderful view. Yeah, you might be wondering, what am I doing here? It's like one of the cliche Mumbai locations, but it's extremely, achingly beautiful. I'm here because behind me is where Christopher Nolan and Tashida Dean had given a lecture in 2018 on the preservation and restoration of film as a medium. It was a very fun day actually. I was able to meet a bunch of people, made some new friends, even was able to meet one of the key IMAX guys, David Keeley. But yeah, coming back to the video. I know it's just a film, but Cooper's quest and the mission's success feel personal. During my recent rewatches, I couldn't help but feel the rage against Brand over his confession and Mann over his cowardness. To be honest, I really hate him, especially Mann. I feel like punching him in the face. I don't think I have ever felt this towards any other villain. And let's be honest, between all this and Murph's conflict with Tom, the film does plateau a bit. Not that it falls apart, but just plateaus. And it's understandable considering how these scenes are sandwiched between the film's two of the most flawless sequences, Organ Variation and No Time for Caution. No Time for Caution, oh good lord, that's an absolute cinema moment. The sequence actually begins earlier when Murph follows her instincts and changes gears. I love these pivotal moments when characters suddenly change their minds, transforming everything that follows. This is where the film breaks free from the earlier plateau and crescendos into a series of escalating high-stakes events. Saving Cooper, Brom's murder, hunting Mann, talking. Meanwhile, Murph grapples with the strange feeling she has felt for over 25 years. Though her emotional journey might not grip us as viscerally as the intercut action sequences, it keeps us deeply invested. While some might find it underwhelming, and I would not call it perfect either, no one can deny the flawless scenes that follow. The tension during "Dr. Mann, please respond" is peak space drama. Nothing can beat that, not even light. But good lord, once No Time for Caution begins, you're in for a ride. Cooper emerges as the perfect protagonist. The entire weight of humanity's future rests on his shoulders. Despite facing the "it's impossible," this is where his leap of faith and sheer determination truly shine. It's an absolute cinema moment through and through. Even Nolan's worst critics could not disagree with this, because no, it's necessary. unless they really want to. Though some of the criticism the film gets is valid. Some of the exposition, like Amelia explaining the planets right after launch, feels a bit on your nose. And the centrifuge line? It's too quick to miss. There's barely a visual anchor. Like it took me years to realize what Cooper was actually noticing tilting his head. During my recent watch, I looked closely and saw a staircase leading to a door built sideways, revealing the cylindrical nature of the station these folks are building. Then there is another one. Watching a Kip video, I saw him explain the Plan A in layman's terms. Turn down the gravity on Earth to lift off colonies.
The problem is that rockets on Earth are much too weak to do the job. And so Murph and her mentor, Professor Brand, work hard to figure out how to turn down the gravity of the Earth in order to lift off the colonies.
I'm not asking Nolan to spoon feed me every visual detail. I absolutely love the cut when Cooper gets unconscious and we directly cut to him waking up at Cooper Station. I love how not too much is revealed. But in some areas, I would have appreciated a better choice of words. Sure, the movie tells us that they know,
Harnessing gravity was real.
but what they are going to use that harnessed gravity for? Just like how Kip explained, to turn down Earth's gravity. Then there is the coin toss. The shot's kind of flat and moves so quickly you barely notice what just happened. Especially on a giant screen, you can miss the sudden drop of the coin. Maybe I'm just nitpicking at this point. But there are some criticisms I don't agree with. Take for example this infamous line, "Love transcends space and time." Sure, the setup between Edmund and Brand was not established enough. Also, her argument for Edmund was strong enough because Edmund had got better data than Mans. But let's not forget, she's just come back from Miller's planet and she's grieving, she's shell-shocked. Her instincts override her theory.
Cooper, I screwed up. I'm sorry. But you knew about relativity. But I was prepared. I knew the theory. Reality's different.
That line says everything. And about that wormhole explanation scene, sure, Cooper was a NASA pilot, but the explanation wasn't really about how wormholes work. It was about their spherical nature.
It's a sphere. Well, of course it is. What you thought it would just be a hole. No, it's just that all the illustrations I've ever seen,
And let's be honest, this scene rules. It honestly blew my mind when I first watched it.
Okay, so to show that they've turned three-dimensional space into two dimensions, which turns a wormhole into two dimensions, the circle. What's a circle in three dimensions?
sphere.
Exactly. Spherical hole.
Like I already knew what a wormhole is and how it works, but watching Rom help us visualize it in 3 dimensions was absolutely worth it. Speaking of Romilly, he deserves his own appreciation segment. This guy waited 23 years alone. Well, not entirely alone, Taz was with him, but still, he found the crack that led Cooper into the black hole. Without him, none of this would have happened. And I think he's the unsung hero here. Revisiting Interstellar after all these years feels like listening to long-forgotten sounds of rain back from Earth. By the way, what an underrated scene that is.
We're explorers, Rom. This is our boat.
Speaking of underrated, there's another scene between Grandpa and Cooper where Donald asks Cooper to
make things right with Murph.
And Cooper confidently replies,
I will.
but then,
Without making promises you don't know you can keep.
one line later, his confidence shakes a bit. The silence that follows says it all. He knows he might not come back. It's also interesting to see the dichotomy of promises made in this film. While Brand's promise was backed by a lie,
I will have solved the problem of gravity. I give you my word.
Your father solved his equation before I even left.
Cooper's promise stemmed out from his faith.
And I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
Like he clearly knew there is a chance of him never seeing his daughter again. Yet his love and optimism didn't let him settle with that possibility. And just when you think you have felt all the heartbreak you can, this time around it hits harder when you realize that Murph did try to see her father one last time. Murph jumps off bed, grabs the watch, runs downstairs. But it was too late. He had already left. it hits so hard, especially knowing that she tried.
8, 7, 6.
She screamed and called for him, but he could not hear her. It was too late. She could not say a goodbye. I cannot help but cry. God, he left. He fucking left. Also appreciate this little detail when Donald gets her hold of her as soon as he spots her. I was not able to notice that during my previous rewatches, but during this rewatch, I was completely devastated noticing it. This is peak drama, man. This is a sign of a great director. Guy knows how to put on a convincing enough drama on screen that hits the mark where it hurts the deepest. Before coming back to the IMAX 70mm rendezvous, here's another surreal part. So within a few days of watching Interstellar on the big screen for the first time, I came across this news. And bam, I was jumping out of joy by just thinking about this very faint chance of getting to see him when he's in my city. Little did I know that I wouldn't just get to actually meet my hero, the legend himself, but also to get to watch one of my favorite films of his, Dunkirk in IMAX 70mm and Interstellar in 35mm. Behind me is the Liberty Cinema, which was active for the longest time before it had COVID, and since then it's been in its cryo sleep, just like the 70mm projector in Varala. I mean, look at this beauty, the Art Deco beauty. I wish I could have gotten the access to go inside and shoot certain parts of it, because from the inside it looks incredibly beautiful. I still remember it vividly that back in 2018, the board over there said presenting Christopher Nolan's Interstellar in 35mm. It's a pretty sad thing to actually see, because back in the Mami days, like in 2018-19, me and my friends used to come here to watch some of the Mami films. Actually, this was one of those free venues back then, along with Regal Cinema. But man, we had so much fun during the Interstellar 35mm screening. If thousands of men couldn't get home, home came for them. That's exactly what happened at these screenings. Sure, we paid a bomb, but it was worth every rupee. If we can spend thousands of rupees on concerts, then this is nothing less than a concert. Actually, it's even rare or more sacred than that. With Nolan and Thomas introducing the film, a theater packed house full, a projector rattling at 24 frames per second. Everything felt like it's in the right place at the right time. Nolan is the Cooper of our generation, showing us how far we can go both in cinema and imagination. On this very day, at this very place, I can still hear the echo of Nolan. Interstellar on film, check. This was the peak of my love for this film, until it was not. I don't know what happened exactly. Maybe it was the fading dream of becoming an astrophysicist. Maybe it was how Interstellar became so popular that it no longer felt mine. Maybe I had just found other things to obsess over. Maybe I had gotten too used to the film, like too comfortable. I had seen it on digital IMAX, I had seen it on 35mm, I had even had a chance to meet Nolan a couple of times. Or maybe none of it felt special anymore. Hell, while researching for this video, the mails I stumbled upon, I don't even remember writing them. I'm not sure if you have felt this before for a thing you used to love, but something didn't just feel right. Despite this drift, the urge to watch movies on film never left me. I kept chasing 35mm screenings in Mumbai. Udaan, Mahal, Sholay. Over the years and various re-releases later, something was still missing. Yes, I still loved the movie, but I realized that I had not distanced myself from others' appreciation of the movie, but from my own connection to it. As 2024 was approaching, Interstellar's 10-year anniversary was making the buzz. I knew I had to do something, to shake off this feeling of distance, to reconcile with something forgotten. Slowly, a plan to travel started taking shape, and the dream to watch Interstellar in IMAX 70mm was back alive again. So I bought this camera, couple of lenses, microphone. I spent a chunk of my savings, not just for the trip, but to document it. This was supposed to be the final act, a trip halfway across the world, to watch a film in the way it is meant to be seen. The Australian government rejected my visa twice. Despite funding the trip myself, crossing continents to watch a movie was not deemed a valid reason. The remote nature of my work made them suspicious, I guess. They worried that I might never return to my home country, simply because I lacked a corporate job to take leave from and a fully established business. What a bummer. Getting an invitation from an Australian citizen might have helped my visa application, but that lead went nowhere. I also tried making plans to visit San Francisco instead and reached out to contacts over there for invitation, but those efforts did not pan out either. After the failure of the Melbourne plan, I entered a limbo. I gave up on making this video and the internet was flooded with IMAX stills. The movie was breaking records and the reels were going viral. I was happy for the movie. It deserved the kind of love it received, but it just felt like everyone's partying out there and you are home alone. So I buried myself in other things, projects, work, distractions. But the thought never left me that maybe, just maybe, my love for this film doesn't have to be dictated by a movie format, or a trip, or a failed visa. Now, despite having watched Interstellar several times on digital IMAX here in India, the official Indian re-release felt a bit different. It carried a new kind of weight. I kind of felt like I was coming of age, but emotionally this time. I was finally ready to embrace my love for this film fully, regardless of how popular it had become, regardless of its flaws, regardless of whether I ever watched it in 70mm or not. And the special thing about this Indian re-release was that it coincided with my birthday in February. So I booked my tickets. I went alone a few times, but I also brought my friends along. I watched it with my sister and even convinced my mother to see it with me. There's something incredibly special about sharing this space opera with your parents, even when they don't understand much of English, let alone the technical mumbo jumbo. But I'm glad that they really liked it and understood the movie in broad strokes. And on my 25th birthday, I was back at where it all started, at the venue I first saw Interstellar on the big screen. But this time, I did watch it at its IMAX screen for the first time. Hello, so here I am at India's current largest digital IMAX screen. Let's go inside.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. No wise men at their end, no dark is right. Because their words had fought no lightning day. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
Earlier it used to be operated by Carnival Cinemas, but now it's Mirage. They have done a pretty good job at the renovation, and they've also maintained the 70mm projector sitting in the back. The entry to that projection booth is like this. So now we are gonna enter the projection booth just like the old Nolan ways of entering the kitchen from the back, as seen in Inception and Tenet. So it's kind of similar to that. That's the door. That's how it has been over here, and bam, this is the projector in its full glory, with all the rails leading up to the doghouse. So here's a reel of a space documentary. It's quite dusty. Pretty sad to have a look at this. Everything is covered in dust. The last time this was used was during the 2018 Dunkirk screening, when Nolan himself had shown up for it. And rumor has it he also personally funded it, the entire screening thing. Made in Canada. Yeah, this is the IMAX 70mm projector in its cryo sleep, as I'd like to call it. Only a person with godly powers can save this projector. Not exactly save, but make it come to life. Maybe it's gonna take a couple of years, or maybe decades, but people eventually will find its true value. So finally I was able to watch Interstellar in IMAX again. Unfortunately not in the 70mm IMAX as Nolan intended, but I got to see it in 4K IMAX, which is IMAX with laser, and that is also pretty good in its own way. Kind of sad, but we never know when it's gonna get active again. Hopefully soon. Film is not dead. Someday it's gonna come back into its life, but yeah. Going back home, leaving Interstellar behind, moving ahead to maybe Odyssey. Yeah. No, but seriously, I just watched Interstellar 2 times in a single day. That has never happened before. So I basically got like 20 minutes late for this morning show thanks to the Mumbai traffic. I kind of underestimated it. I thought that it won't be as worse as Bangalore, but I took the Mumbai traffic for granted. Otherwise, I have never been this late for any movie in the longest time. I kind of missed 20 minutes of the movie, and then I just decided, let me just watch the second show as well. Somewhere in the middle of the second show, after the wormhole scene, I was thinking that I should leave probably because I've not gotten much of sleep. But the movie was so engaging that I'm like, fuck it, man. This is a really great movie and I would want to watch it again. Like, can you imagine for the 3rd time in a single day? That's crazy. And I don't think any other movie has had a similar impact on me as Interstellar. Happy birthday, Vikrant. Happy birthday. And today is my birthday. Now it's time for me to write the script, so I'll see you guys later. Bye. This film is still aging like fine wine, and yet I'm frustrated by how underappreciated it is in certain spaces. None bothered to recognize its true beauty. Some folks dismissed it early on by calling it overstuffed for trying to do too much. But I think its ambition is not a bug, but a feature. This film doesn't just ask big questions. It risks failure to answer them. Hell, it might even take a couple of more decades for someone like Criterion to call it a classic. But for me, it's an instant classic since the day I actually pirated it. And yeah, there are some imperfections in writing and execution of it. But I'll take a messy, passionate film over a polished, soulless one any day. Interstellar inspired a whole generation to look up, to take interest in space again, to blend science and storytelling. And I think it will continue doing that for years and generations to come. For years, I thought my favorite shot from the film would be one from Cornfield Chase or of Gargantua. But then 10 years later, I guess I found my new favorite. It's the final shot of Cooper. That slight smile on his face, that look of quiet satisfaction, of curiosity, of going out there into the unknown again. That's the shot I would want to own as my IMAX film cell. Not the black hole, not the drone chase. Just that. If anyone ever wants to gift me a frame from the film, you know which one to pick. In the end, what matters the most is your connection with this beast of a film, where you can say that my connection with this film is quantifiable, no matter what the world says, no matter where you have watched the film, be it on your phone or in a local movie theater or in Nolan's preferred format IMAX 70mm. But that's not an excuse to do nothing. If cinema is a religion, then visiting movie theaters is the pilgrimage we must take. And no one should stop us from traveling to watch movies. No government, no law, not even your own self, be it traveling cities or countries. We must continue seeking these communal experiences, these moments of shared wonder whenever and however we can. Sure, my plan A was always to make a video about watching Interstellar in IMAX 70mm, but I ended up moving ahead with my plan B, which was to go ahead with making this video anyway, to convey my love for this achingly beautiful film. Perhaps like Amelia, I'm unaware that my plan A has already worked out, and it's only a matter of time when the success of that plan A reaches me. There's so much more to appreciate about this film, and I'm only halfway there. I will come back to watch this film again, in a land that's unknown in a land that's yet to be explored. Until then.